All right, going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Graves,
Here.
Councilmember Saper,
Here.
Councilmember Tull,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Clevenger,
Here.
Councilmember Roberts,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Palumbi.
Here.
All right, next up is Pledge of Allegiance, and seeing no scouts tonight, Councilmember Graves. All right, we broke our solid streak we had there of scouts. We're going to have to go back to the well on that one. Next up is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next up, comments from the public. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak this evening? Good evening. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get your microphone there. That helps. Try now.
George Schluter,
There you are.
800 East 23rd. I'm concerned about item 19 on the agenda. Over a year ago, you all approved money for studying how you would get bicycle paths underneath I-29, I-35. I haven't seen anything on it. I don't think you ought to spend any more money on Armour Road street improvements until you have that resolved and what you're doing with it. I don't see any reason to put money into something that may not come about in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments?
Good evening. My name is Lauren Wells. I live at 22nd and Knox. I'm here to discuss the development at 23rd and Swift and the Chapter 100 bonds. First, the amended agreement states in Article 3, Chapter 3.2, Section C, that the company, Star Acquisitions and Development, will take 6 acres at 23rd and Swift and develop the area into a 290-unit multifamily complex with commercial facilities for rent, and that the company must maintain at minimum 1 office space for the company. The bond requirements specifically state these industrial bonds are for manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, offices, research and development, agricultural processing, and services in interstate commerce. This development does not currently meet the criteria for these industrial bonds, and this is a residential development. Exploiting this loophole of maintaining at minimum only a single office for the company is a cheat on the spirit and intent of these bonds. Article 2, number 2.3 of the project and development process states, in reference to eminent domain, it is not contemplated by the company that the acquisition or termination of any real property rights from any third parties is necessary for the acquisition, construction, installation, and maintenance of the project or any improvements associated therewith. However, it does not state that the city has not contemplated these risks. It appears by making the developer solely responsible for the infrastructure and any related issues, the city washes its hands of being directly responsible for any potential damage that may occur during the construction and 15-year lease of 23rd and Swift. Article 2-4, Section B states that the company shall ensure the overall efficiency of operation and construction cost of the infrastructure and project improvements. Article 7.28, Section A states that the company has undertaken or will undertake at its sole cost and expense such due diligence as it seems necessary to assess the environmental condition of the project site. Offering the company millions of dollars of incentives with the Chapter 100 bonds is not a sufficient way to bypass infrastructure costs for the city at that location. As of today, it is impossible for Star Development to anticipate the associated costs of infrastructure issues that may arise from developing this massive complex on deteriorating, poorly maintained, 100-year-old clay pipes. This is a foreseen issue, and construction should not commence until the infrastructure in this neighborhood has been thoroughly studied and evaluated by the city. The citizens do not want to deal with the developer if issues with infrastructure arise at their properties north should they have to. The North Kansas City community has not been properly notified and educated on the complexities of this agreement and inappropriate use of Chapter 100 bonds. They have not been made aware of this enormous infrastructure liability, and they are not offered any security or protection within this agreement. The company also remains unprotected with this agreement. Article 7.22 and the insurance and indemnification, and filed under miscellaneous, states, the company releases the city parties from and agrees that the city shall not be liable for any liabilities, losses, damages asserted against the city or any of their officials, officers, agents, employees, etc. If there are negligent acts or omissions of the city under this agreement. Again, this is a foreseen issue. I propose we amend this agreement to eliminate all use of Chapter 100 bonds and obligate the city to conduct a thorough infrastructure study of 23rd and Swift and the surrounding neighborhoods prior to the signing of this agreement. This contract can and should be revised. I pray for the council to be bold tonight and truly consider the integrity and legacy of North Kansas City and vote in your individual and sole discretion on this matter. It is not worth the risk to sacrifice future development bond opportunities because we are mishandling resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments?
My name is Richard Sheets. I live at 1002 East 24th Avenue. You guys know that I'm not a fan of the apartment complex, and I put together this whole thing with statistics about why it's a bad idea for North Kansas City and organic growth and rapid development and preserving the sanctity of what we have down here. And the more that I look into this, the more that I feel like those words will be lost on you guys. I think I'm wasting my breath, and the reason being is from where I stand, I see the primary reason to move forward with this is to recoup the TIF money that we spent in the late 90s acquiring and rehabbing the properties. This is noble. I mean, who wouldn't want to recoup as much as you can out of a bad $30 million investment? From a dollars and cents perspective, it makes sense to maximize your return. Using the tax abatements and the Chapter 100 bonds, you're able to generate an income of approximately $300,000 on a property that's currently grossing you zero. And you only have until 2032 to recoup the $21 million remaining out of the TIF money, which at this rate will only net you about $3 million. Plus the $3 million purchase price for the land, we're still about $15 million short of the TIF goal. Please let me know if I've missed anything here. On the same plot of land, you could build roughly about 49 homes the same size as those in Northgate Village. And right now, the average property tax amount in that neighborhood is about $3,900 annually. Multiplied by 49 houses, that's only $191,000. So, and that would even have to be split by the other tax-receiving entities in the city, not just paid back. Property tax will increase, but it will take decades to equal the projected $700,000 in tax revenue the county is estimating by 2038. You can construct any kind of housing, retail, condo, apartment combination you like, but this late in the game, it seems that the full amount will not be recovered. Again, please let me know if I'm missing anything here. This is what happens when you operate on debt or make bad deals. We're playing with money that we don't have right now. You become desperate, and now we're looking for a quick way out. Maybe today we won't feel it, but the long-term consequences are unknown. We didn't know back in 1999 that the housing market would crash and we would have the recession in 2008. We didn't know that COVID would hit in 2020 and grind our economy to a halt. We don't know what the future holds. There will be unforeseen obstacles, delays, and setbacks. The bottom line is that the TIF program was a bad deal to begin with. I feel the council is trying to see it through because the clock is running, to try and recoup as much of that money as you can, and it's been expressed to me being a good steward of the previous administration's plans. To me, this is a sunk cost fallacy. We've already gone so far, we're throwing good money after bad when we could be instead reevaluating what's best for our neighborhoods. We could cut our losses and pivot in a new direction. We've been afforded an opportunity to take a step back and reevaluate what we might be able to do for the community and its impact on the future, but instead, we're blindly plowing forward, headlong into this deal because it seems like it's the only way. People aren't moving here because of high-rise apartment buildings that tower over historic neighborhoods. They're moving here because they want to live, they're not moving here because they want to live in an urban core. People move here because of the charm, the small-town feel that North Kansas City has to offer. It's pleasant here. It's really nice. I mean, you all love it too. People like the security that's managed by our police force. They enjoy our public services we offer. Those are second to none in the area. They love the conveniences, and most of all, I believe they love the sense of community that we offer. On average, apartment dwellers stay about 2 years, give or take a few months. And this is a lot like going into a marriage with a prenuptial agreement. You can stay as long as you like, but the door's open for you to leave with no consequences. Typically, they're not involved in community affairs because it affects them little. There's no vested interest, only convenience and income. And when they're ready, they move on to the next chapter in their lives. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just the way that it is. North Kansas City will be almost 90% rentals once this building is complete. And I say will be because I know my words won't have an effect on the way you vote today. But think about that. Is that what you want this to be? We're a town where only 10% of the population has a vested interest? What sense of community does that foster? What then makes us unique? What are the long-term consequences of adding more residents down here? Growing up in the construction industry, I've seen this scenario play out many times. A developer comes in, puts up a building, strip mall, apartment complex, whatever, sells it to a property management firm. They aren't in the business of maintaining properties. They're in the business of development. So it goes from hand to hand as repairs become more frequent and the ROI becomes affected, and eventually we have NFT properties like French Quarters and Sunny Hills. Is that what we're building now? What will the landscape look like here in 30 years? Anyways, you guys get it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments? Seeing no further public comments, we will move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 10.
Number 10, actuarial report on the police and fire pension fund, resolution number 21-091.
Good evening. Oh, I'm sorry. Kim, I gotta go structure here.
It's okay. Tracy, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I will not take up too much of your time tonight. These reports don't take very long when the news is good. So I assume all of you have just the 3-page summary of the evaluation report this year. I brought the full report if there are questions, but I'll just go very briefly through this information. We had a wonderful investment year for our year ended 9/30/21. The plan experienced market value gains of 21.2%, which is phenomenal. Our valuation only recognizes 20% of those gains over a period of 5 years at a time. So even on what we call an actuarial smooth value of assets, which is there at the bottom of the first page, we're sitting at just under $64 million on a smooth value basis. On a market value basis, we were over $71 million as of 9/30. But even with our methodologies that we use, we jumped from 103.8% funded to 108.5%. So long story short, the plan is sitting in a very comfortable, enviable position, and we are anticipating no additional recommended contribution from the city this year or for the foreseeable future. This plan is now sitting very comfortably, and we know that there will be a market correction, whether it's in 22 or 23 or beyond, but this plan is now sitting quite comfortably, ready to weather any future storms that may come our way. So it's been a long time, a lot of hard work on the part of the pension board to get it in this position, but we're in great shape.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I like that. Councilmember, questions on this? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
most
the
welcome.
report.
Take it.
Oh, we want good news next year, too.
I'll do my best.
Thank you. Number 11.
Number 11, 23rd and Swift Amended and Restated Development Agreement, Bill Number 7629, Ordinance Number 9426.
Kim.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pretty much what I will do is I will kind of go over a quick historical recap of this particular project and kind of what brings us forward today. There are 2 agenda items on this particular topic, and then we will have a short presentation from Robert De La Fuente and Blake Fulton from Star Development. We recognize it has been some time since the City Council has seen what this development is. So after I get done kind of discussing a little bit of the historical, all the actions that have been taken since the development began, they will come forward, do a little bit of a presentation, and then we'll open it up for council member questions after that. But feel free to ask any questions you may have throughout that, but I thought I'd kind of frame out what our path forward is. So the City and Star Acquisition Developments entered into a development agreement on August 4th, 2020, to develop the 6-acre site located in the northwest corner of 23rd Avenue in Swift. Star actually closed on the purchase of that project site on January 14th, 2021. So Star Development does currently own the land. They have been working with city staff through their various boards over the last year to kind of go through that development process. So the preliminary plat was reviewed by the Planning Commission on December 3rd, 2020, and the TIF Commission reviewed the design, which is actually one of the requirements to develop within the TIF district, is at that time, during that TIF agreement, it is very unique that a TIF Commission is given design capacity, but in 1999 and 2000, the city really wanted some oversight in that area and did empower the TIF Commission to be able to have another layer of review policy within their guidelines for that particular project. So the TIF Commission did approve of this project. The developer did submit the Public Infrastructure Improvement Plan for review by city staff on December 22, 2020, and they worked with Community Development and Public Works over an extensive period of time to make sure that they met our approval processes. And if you guys have any of we have heard some of the residents kind of mention infrastructure improvements in that area. Anthony Sands and Sarah Copeland are more than happy to answer any of your questions on their review process for the infrastructure in that area. You guys may or may not know that area has always been multifamily. That parcel of land did once have apartments on it, and it has been multifamily zoned pretty much for the better part of 40 to 50 years. The final plat for this block was reviewed by the Planning Commission on March 4th, 2021. The City Council did approve the final plat for this particular property on March 16th, 2021, and the site plan for this site was originally submitted on December 22nd, as mentioned before, but after several revisions, the site plan was approved on October 15th of this year. Construction plans were submitted on March 22nd, 2021, and the staff has reviewed these plans and resubmittals multiple times, and those plans are now considered permit ready. The City Council took public comment on the Chapter 100 plan on November 2nd. So the staff is currently coordinating to schedule the pre-development meetings for this particular project. And one of the things that brings us here tonight is the consideration of the first amended and restated development agreement, as well as the Chapter 100 plan. I'll kind of talk about one and then talk about the other, and then I'll have Star Development kind of go through their presentation, and if you guys have any site-specific questions, please feel free. They are here to answer any and all questions you may have. I'll kind of really quick go through this. The first amended and restated development agreement provides really more of anything of an update of the construction schedule. Really all the major deal points in this particular project remain the same. What changes is the schedule. Right now, Star intends to close on its construction loan in March 2022 and will begin construction in March or April of 2022. Along with this original, again, so that is just a restated. As I mentioned before, the City Council did previously enter into a development agreement. And in that previous development agreement and in the restated one is the issuance of the Chapter 100 bonds. There is a pilot schedule that is affixed to that particular project. Star Development will be making payments of $300,000 annually. There is a ramp-up period, meaning while they're under construction, they'll be paying a smaller amount, and then as they hit full construction, it will go $300,000 for approximately 18 years. The city is the benefactor of the tax district, of the tax increment financing district, and that was an agreement made in 1999 when the city took on those costs for land acquisition and for clearing of the property. It was a repayment to the gaming fund, which is where those funds came from. This particular agreement will extend past the TIF district timeline, so it kind of straddles it. So after the TIF district folds, the city will be splitting those pilot payments with the affected taxing jurisdictions beginning in 2033. So there will be about 7 years there that we are cost sharing the pilot payment with primarily the school district. The school district makes up 80% of North Kansas City residents' tax bills. And then there's kind of about 7 different agencies that will also be getting a cost share of that $300,000. So if there's again, a lot of what I just covered, I just kind of verbalized what was in your staff memo, but for the benefit of everybody, I thought I'd just really quickly run through that. And if you guys don't have any questions for us, mind you, we'll have plenty of time to ask questions along the way. I'd like to invite Robert De La Fuente and Blake Fulton to come forward and give us a presentation on the development.
Good evening, Mayor and council and staff. We got a presentation for you about the development. As Kim said, it's kind of an overview. I think one of the reasons some of the council wasn't here at the time, or it's been some time, so just want to run through the presentation. 23rd and Swift it's a Class A development that we obtained through a city RFP process. It's at the corner of 23rd and Swift, obviously. It's 294 units, 256,000 approximate square feet of rentable space, approximately 350,000 square feet of total. It's 4 floors. It's on approximately 6 acres, and there's a garage, ground, and street parking around the project. The aesthetic it's a warehouse aesthetic to fit in with the North Kansas City appeal. It's best-in-class finishes, and it's top-tier amenities. Some of these slides are just kind of some fluff slides that, for the project here. This is the site history slide. It's pretty much a repeat of exactly what Kim just denoted a second ago, so I'm not going to run through that one again because it's really about the same thing. Here's some renderings of the project. Modern look. Once again, that warehouse aesthetic. You can see the parking garage as well. The project's going to have lots of amenities internally and externally. Internally, we got a pool, all the standard, courts and artificial turf, dog parks, all that type of stuff that would fit in with the community really well. Kind of a more detailed internal. And then kind of who we are. So Star Development has been around since the mid-'90s or early 90s, really. We're based out of Liberty. Principal is Tim Harris, has been around for the majority, being a developer in Kansas City for 40-plus years. This is Robert De La Fuente, and I'm Blake Fulton. Some relevant experience of some of the projects we've done. This is that you might know in town. Is kind of just who we are and kind of how this would relate to the project. The Liberty Triangle, if anyone has been up, that's the Hy-Vee and Liberty, the kind of the main economic hub of Liberty. There's the Wall Street Tower. We've done that downtown. That was a condo conversion about 15 years ago. One of the more recent apartment projects is the Copper Ridge Apartments. Those are the one kind of north of Hy-Vee and Liberty. It's I think it's 309 unit apartment complex. It's similar in size to this project that we did. It's a little bit different layout. Those are separate buildings, kind of spread out on a campus-like, but similar size. The team for this, the architecture team's Bonaventure. Bonaventure is it's a nationwide firm. They do all the development services from, development to management, architecture, and everything. On this project, they have done the architecture. They're one of the top largest 15 HUD, recipients for multifamily. So basically, they're a very large multifamily. They do a lot of apartments. They do across the country. Their architecture firm is Bonaventure Designs. They got local roots. They bought a company called Jeff Price Architecture in Liberty, which is right down the street from our office. We've been working with Jeff for about 25 years, and that's who designed the project. So national firm, local roots. Handling all the legal for the project is Polsinelli. Kurt Peterson's worked with staff, has a great reputation in town for working with public-private partnerships and also, development and real estate. Kind of a current status of the project. Currently, and this is to kind of show the council our current investment in the project and where we're at. We've been working on it for several years now. We've invested $4.5 million. That's the land cost, and then engineering and design and legal so far. That's out of STAR's pocket. That's the money we've put into the project that we currently have, invested in the community. The main reason we're here for the updated development agreement is because of the delays that we're seeing in construction, which is, a lot of firms have seen across the country due to COVID and whatnot. That's why we're currently here. One of the reasons for these delays is this creates contract issues. The forecasting for accuracy and prices and availability, that's been our major issue so far. The project's completely approved, financing's in place, commitments, equity's committed. As Kim noted earlier, the permit's ready to go. We are just currently in search of a contractor is where we're at, the project. Kind of a more, they were kind of putting it in months, the staff. We kind of think of it on a quarterly basis. But, here we are tonight, Q4 21. With that, we're trying to get the amended development agreement and go over the Chapter 100 bonds. In Q1 2022, that's when we'll get the GMP, which is the gross max price, the contract with the contractor in place. We're currently getting bid numbers on that as we currently speak. About that same time, a lot of kind of the avenues come together for the project. That's when we'll be closing the construction loan, the Chapter 100 bonds. We'll do the leaseback with the city, as well as get the sales tax exemption certificates for building the project. And then Q1, Q2 2022, that's when construction should begin on the project, right into next year. And then the general time it takes on a project like this is like 26, 27, 28 months. So that puts us into Q3 2024 for completion. And then we start leasing up generally 16, 17, 18 months into it. There will be residents moving into the project. This is kind of a construction schedule sample, and you'll see it runs from 1 to 26 months. Shows kind of what's being done and when we start doing lease up. That's kind of a general overview of the project. Just kind of wanted to run through to, give everybody a little refresher and whatnot. And if you got any questions, I don't know if the mayor's got to tell us we can go on that or not. But
Councilmember Graves.
Thank you for the presentation. I've personally been following this project since it was, I guess, back in 2020, was presented to the Planning Commission, right? And then the TIF Commission. So when this project was first rolled out, when I first heard about it, there was retail space on the main level. What was decided to? Why was that removed?
There's still a retail component. What lands there, we're not sure. It may be a partnership with the gym that lands there as an amenity for the tenants, the residents there. May have some kind of an office component, an office share. WeWork type thing, or it might be something as simple as a coffee shop. But that component is still there.
I thought the retail was removed. So is there going to be retail on Swift? Is that where it's located?
initially, some of the retail was larger. With COVID, obviously, retail's, the use for retail is a lot different than it used to be. Some of the retail that's, pseudo-planned to be in there will be amenity retail, for example, like services for the tenants, like the WeWork space, but outside, we would potentially put it up to outside customers as well.
Okay, I got a few questions I'll fire through here. Some of them you actually already answered in your presentation. And some of these I already know the answer to, but there's a lot of misconception in the community, so I'm just trying to get this out publicly to, kind of clear things up for people. So we're redoing the construction schedule, correct? So why was the original construction schedule not met? You're basically saying it was COVID-related delays? Because you were supposed to start like last spring, right?
Well, multiple things. Pretty typical when we put these development agreements together at the beginning. I mean, you're putting together multiple years in advance. So, 99% of the time you're going to amend them in some way, when it gets closer to the project. I mean, I would say that happens in virtually every project. One, and two, yeah, there were COVID delays, which obviously, everyone knows. And then, off of the COVID delays there's contracting's different now. You can't go say, hey, I want to, get something done. What used to be 2 weeks, now they're saying can't see if we can get the materials, and it could take 2 months or 4 months, and a lot of contracting details on who's responsible for that and whatnot. And that's really initially that's kind of the main piece of what caused the delay now, while we're back out looking for a general contractor, kind of rebidding the same process we started out with.
That kind of begs the question of, are there still COVID delays? Because how do we know that this isn't going to just keep getting delayed?
There's materials delays that I think everybody's heard of. I'm building 3 Starbucks, all with the same delivery here for next year, and I'm trying to find sinks for these guys.
Yeah.
That's going to cause a problem. From the outside looking in, Blake was running point on the negotiation for the construction contract. And the thing that was atypical from other projects was there was a little bit of a gun shyness on typical clauses and the cost of materials going up, what happens in a COVID-type situation if there's another flare-up, and who takes that risk. So we were pretty far along with the original contractor. They're a great firm, competent firm, but we just couldn't get on the same page with some of those terms that were just normal, customary things before last year, which has caused us to go to an equally suitable construction company from the East Coast, but who has done 50 of these projects, similar projects out that way. But the reason for the switch, the pivot there, had to do with contract negotiations and some things that have come up as a result of COVID in contract clauses and that type of thing.
I see in your presentation you showed the parking garage, and I've had people in my community. I actually can see this from my house, so I live close by. Talking to neighbors, I've had people tell me that there was no parking component, and I noticed in your presentation you said that there's surface parking kind of inside the facility. There's a parking garage, but you also mentioned street parking. So you're gonna have cars parking on.
Yeah, can you kind of see the periphery, how the cars are parked on the outside? That's the street parking?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about for street parking.
Yeah, because we have a lot of, I don't know if you're aware of this, but was there a traffic study done or parking study done on this site? Because we have a lot of parking issues around here, with a lack of parking. So
There was a traffic study.
There was? Okay.
Yeah, and we did take a hard look at the parking. One of the delays was in creating the parking structure, the additional parking structure that you're talking about. It's kind of a complicated site. It's super flat. The water table is really low. Just working through the engineering of being able, there's a storm situation on that side. It's an existing condition that we're trying to handle within the
For water runoff?
For water runoff and whatnot. So there was some delay in that, but the reason for the parking structure was specifically to address the parking situation.
Yeah, to ease the strain on the, because there's people concerned with that. That's why I was bringing it up.
Right.
There's people asking me about, are they going to be parking on the street?
On parks, is it?
I don't have, as far as the exact parks, it's approximately 400. It's 1.3 per unit is the ratio, and this number's not exact on, but you're probably 75-80% of your parking is going to be in the garage, in the structure. So that should pull a lot of it off the street.
Okay. Let me see here. I already know the answer to this, but I just wanted to put it out publicly because I get this, people think wrong all the time. But how many of these units are affordable housing units?
That's zero. It's all market rate.
Correct. And then I'm sure you probably don't know the answer to this because it's not opening for, what, 3 years? But do you have any idea of what the cost of a one-bedroom apartment in this, what, you won't know what market rate is in 3 years, but I get that question asked.
You don't know.
What's it gonna
When you're
cost?
looking at it now, I mean, apartment rental rates in the Kansas City Metro grew at 8% last year. So, I mean, it's hard to, typical's 3%, 2 to 3% a year. So like I said, it's hard to judge. But, I mean, you're looking at rental rates from $1.50 to $1.85, I think is what we were modeling on here. And so that's taking you, this unit isn't going to have any studios. It's all going to have 1 and 2 bedrooms. And you're looking at rents kind of in your $1,300 to, almost $2,000 a month.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're going to have, very financially capable tenants.
Just 2 more things. Does this have anything to do with the grocery store whatsoever? No, right?
No, we don't have any grocery store, no.
Correct.
No.
So, yeah, we're getting a grocery store down here, and there's people that in their mind somehow think that this is somehow linked to the grocery store, so I'm just making it
I
clear
think we
to
are
people
going to have a
that-
space where if you order groceries online, you can store them while you're waiting for them.
Yeah, cool. And then the final question is, there's some residents that are concerned, we have a lot of houses that are 100 years old, mine included, that lath and plaster walls. When you have construction, you have a bulldozer drive past your house, like literally cracks the walls of your house. So is this going to affect the houses nearby, like on Clay Street? I live on Gentry, and on my street and on Fayette, when the new high school was built, a lot of houses were damaged. And I'm hearing from residents in my ward that live within a stone's throw of this, that they're concerned about their property actually being damaged by construction. So what would you say?
I wouldn't think there'd be any issues. To one of the comments back from the city planning staff is where we were going to have the construction entrance and some stuff about the temporary construction too. So, I mean, I think they were worried about that as well. Can't promise anything, but I wouldn't see why there'd be any issues.
Thank you for answering all those questions. I know it's not easy, and just needed to put those out there for the residents, so thank you.
Thank you. I saw Councilmember Toll next.
I have a question that you touched on about water and grass. So the apartment complexes that are close to that, Gardens and City View, all have a lot of green space. And I noticed on the slide that you pulled up, the big areas of green space are turf. Can you talk about that a little bit?
On the interior,
Yes.
Can we throw that slide up again, too? I don't know who's controlling that.
I get.
Oh, there we go. He's
I'm
got
on the
that. I was
controls
like,
here.
we got magic here. There he is.
Uh,
That one.
yeah, there, that either one.
Yeah.
This one.
There it
Yeah.
shows it.
So it's a lot of it's artificial turf. A lot of it'll be real grass. A lot of it they keep as allowances, so you don't really know until you kind of move to the latter part of the project. But the majority of it internally will be artificial turf. The outside, there's grass around the outsides. It'll be real grass like fescue or Kentucky bluegrass.
Oh, so it's a combo. And then I know that water retention is a big issue anywhere in the city. The whole city is that flat. So can you talk through what measures you're taking or what has to be done to mitigate stormwater?
Well, so Walter P. Moore was the engineer and the civil on this. And do you remember exactly, Robert, when we went through the piping?
So like you said, it's a very flat site, and there's existing issues. We've done the best job we can to not add to that, and I believe we're offsetting a slight fraction of the existing problem. And they're doing that by routing around and through the building to the north side. You kind of have to follow gravity to make it go away, and they've done that as best they can. I don't know that he's got a slide here that shows the...
I wish I was more of an engineer on this. I could give you a better example. But there's an underground water detention under the parking structure, and the parking structure had to be redesigned twice to get it to, it was a very expensive endeavor to get it so that, the water, and the drainage and everything would be good. We spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah, I was just also concerned because of the lack of real green space, like true green space, but I'm guessing on the turf you'd probably have some water retention under that as well. And then the next question, which might be a staff question, I know some of the things that people are talking about is our old water infrastructure, and whether or not that gets looked at prior to building on top of it, on top of existing old water infrastructure.
So this project, they submitted public infrastructure improvement plans after the preliminary plat, at about the same time that they submitted the initial site plan. That was reviewed by Community Development and Public Works and also the city's on-call engineer. We had a lot of back and forth, particularly with regard to stormwater, before we all got to a place where we were comfortable approving this project. So, I mean, the answer is yes. We have reviewed that, and it's at this point approved by staff.
Okay.
As Kim said, the plans are permit ready.
And then my final question is, what's the breakdown of the 290 apartments as far as studio, one bedroom, two bedroom?
I knew someone was going to ask me that tonight. We have 201 one-bed, one-bath, and 93 two-bed, two-baths.
Thank you.
All right, next up I saw Councilmember Covington.
Well, Lisa asked one of my questions about the stormwater runoff, and thank you for going into that and how that's been looked at. What about the water lines and sewer lines? I'm sure that was reviewed before this project as well, since a lot of that was probably zoned for multifamily before, when it was before. Can you go into that, either Anthony or you guys, either one?
Yeah, I can jump in there. Public Works and Community Development looks at developments like this through many different lenses. Regarding infrastructure, we look at the connections to the stormwater, sanitary sewer, the water distribution. If there's size of development of this size, we'll look at traffic impact studies, sidewalks, bike lanes, all kinds of infrastructure impacts. For stormwater, for example, the city has adopted the Kansas City Regional APWA 5600 specification. So we look at guidelines basically on impervious surfaces. So obviously out there right now it's grass. Development's proposing a lot more impervious infrastructure. So the criteria is such that they will detain on site any kind of increase and not have greater impacts on the system. Water infrastructure, they go through different calculations for their fire suppression, domestic water supply. We review their connections to the system, making sure they're using materials that are approved by the city, and connection types are looked at as well. Sorry, hopefully that helps.
So let me I'll just go down the table here since we're hitting on all the departments. Public safety, do we see a real strain on either fire or police as a result of this project either? There we go, thank you, that was quick. Oh, Councilmember Clark.
Yeah, a lot of great questions were asked so far. Graves, I know you mentioned something about apartments being tied to the grocery store specifically. I kind of got asked the same thing. And I had to mention to the residents in my ward, of course, you guys didn't come up with this development for the grocery store, so that would not be a relative question. The grocery store decides to come here based on the population. So I've had to explain to residents in my ward, yes, there are a lot of developments of apartments. We're not all bringing them forward to the table to say, please, please put in a bunch of apartments. But the grocery store did demand a certain amount, so let's just clear that up. That doesn't mean these guys are in cahoots with the grocery store. The green space, she did mention, do you know if it's got water retention? And you kind of went, maybe. So yeah, that's a thought, obviously, because everyone's concerned. Residents have come in to say, please tell me that when this goes up, my house isn't going to flood because of this project. That's pretty cut and dry. And Anthony Sands had a moment where he talked to a resident, and I think that was a lot of cleared up. So hopefully that answered a lot of questions. For those of you tuning in at home, city staff, did we ever turn away droves of developers that wanted to develop 49 homes on this property?
So I'll take that one. This area was always multifamily zoned, and I know that several people on the city council are not here at that time, but when we proposed the RFQ for this particular, so they responded to the city's RFP, for this particular land. Before we issued that land, we had asked the city council at that time if they wanted to proceed with the multifamily development. Again, it is called for in the TIF plan, which was adopted in 1999. It's been called for in that particular area that this was multifamily as part of the entire TIF plan. So the city staff did touch base with the city council before issuing that RFP for development.
Okay. I mean, that's the biggest thing I wanted to know is that, if it was already laid out there and we just rejected it, or if the idea was already presented and everyone just shut it down somehow.
So, I'll be very clear, the RFP was for multifamily.
Great.
When the city issued the RFP, request for proposals for that particular city-owned piece of land, it was for a multifamily development.
Okay, thank you.
All right, going around. Councilmember Saper. Then we'll go with Smith.
Star failed. You failed to deliver on the terms of the previous agreement with the city. Now you want and need a do-over. But first, a little story. When the city began this redevelopment process in the mid-1990s, there was little development going on in the city aside from the casino, which fueled the project. The city had to go, hat in hand, to developers with sweetheart deals, pretty much. And with over $30 million in 1990s city money, probably close to $40 million of today's money, to buy and clear the land and clear out hundreds of families and put in costly infrastructure. Fast forward to the present. Development in and around downtown Kansas City is booming. Within a 30-block zone, infill apartments are everywhere. Midtown, downtown, River Market, Berkeley Riverfront. Berkeley Riverfront was once a place where the only thing that grew there were weeds. Now it's filling up with apartments, businesses, and soon to have a professional soccer stadium. The super block at 23rd and Swift is well within that 30-block hot zone. In fact, it's probably the largest open land in that very hot development zone. North Kansas City no longer has to go hat in hand and be beggars for development. We are hot. We can make demands and be choosy with developers who want public benefits of any and all kinds. Star failed to deliver on the original agreement. If you want to go ahead, we can and must negotiate a new agreement. We can demand retail and office space on the 23rd and Swift ground floors. We can demand that 20% of apartments be affordable rent units. We can demand that all residents and businesses have access to the city's fiber optic network, Link City. If Star wants out, that's up to them. We can buy the land back for what they paid us for. This is prime land. There will be others who want to take advantage of the largest open land in a very hot development zone. It's time for North Kansas City to stop being patsies for developers or anybody else. We are hot, and we know it. And it's time to take a brand new look at this. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, I'm going to move to approve the amended and restated development agreement.
First reading.
Second.
First reading.
Okay, there's a motion in it. Did I hear a second?
Yep.
Yeah, there's.
Motion and second. Further councilmember discussion. I know Councilmember Clevenger had something here.
I just wanted to say just a couple of quick things. First of all, no matter, I'm glad we're a hot and we're a happening town. But no matter what goes on this land, it's under the TIF. So whatever goes there is going to get the tax breaks with the TIF. And the second thing is that, this was done, this deal was done many years, a couple of years ago, and At this time, we didn't hear anything about the multifamily. It was like Kim said, it was sent for the multifamilies, so. You know, we're hot and we're a happening place, but, you know, I don't really think as far as negotiating on this, anyone that does a development here is going to get the tax abatement with the TIF. And I don't know what the TIF too, I'm all for affordable housing, and I would love to have affordable housing in this project. But I think in that area, it's not in the TIF plan, is it, that allows for affordable housing?
The TIF plan would have to be amended.
It would have to be amended as well, which, you know, and I wouldn't be opposed to, but, you know, we do want to have a balance of market rate and affordable, so. But I just want to make that clear that whatever goes in here is going to be under the TIF.
Then I saw Councilmember Roberts.
You took a lot of the words out of my mouth here. Yeah, no, it's okay. But I would just like to say, I don't think we're anybody's patsy. We went out for an RFQ here. We looked at the proposals. We picked you. We sold you the property. There's a whole lot at play. We had a lot of opportunities. A lot of people looked at this. A lot of things have changed, I imagine, and this predates a lot of us on the council. Some it does not, but many of you did already approve this, did already sell them pieces. So, you know, I was not one of those people, but if you wanted things like affordable housing and things, that was something you could have done a long time ago. We're at this part now where we're ready to move forward. This is the minute, you know, it's construction timelines. I mean, it is chaos out there right now. And this was always, you know, when I grew up, there were apartments in this lot. You know, people say they want parks. We have a whole ton of parks here. We have very nice parks. This is not one of them. This has always been apartments, and I think let's get this done.
And I just say overall, I mean, seeing all the agreements, this is by far and away the best one. And when you look at purchase price, you know, what we were going to, maybe I should wait till after this is done, but what we were originally going to sell it for to Rainin was a much lower dollar figure than what has come across now.
We paid 30x what the other price was.
Yeah, so I mean, that has the change, and what's been going on is priced in to what that sales price initially was. Further, Councilmember, I feel like I saw kind of have hands. Okay, Councilmember Palumbi.
I have a comment and then I have a question. I think we've talked about a lot of concerns we have with infrastructure, and my perspective is, you know, we have experts like Anthony and like Sarah, who I trust have done the groundwork before anything like this gets approved. And if there was infrastructure issues or things where they didn't feel it would be safe for you guys to be able to build on this land, that we wouldn't be at this place right now. So I am confident in the work that they've put into this, and I do think that, you know, we have experts for a reason, and we need to trust their instinct. My question for you guys is, with the previous COVID delays, how confident are you guys in the timeline that you actually have laid out when you guys say that you're still working on a contractor and kind of working on getting that relationship sorted out, this 2024 timeline? How confident that that's not going to be further delayed into 2025, 2026?
So we have a contractor selected. They have to go back out to the market to bid, and a lot of these people have already bid, so it should be a shorter than, we're 100% confident in the general, the timeline.
The timeline that we came back with you in the agreement was taken into account, you know, the saying, okay, this is what we think we can do. I mean, that's the timeline that we gave you. So, I mean, I would never want to say we're 100% sure. I can't control that. We're very, very confident.
Are there any setbacks that you guys have identified that we should maybe be anticipating, or do we think that COVID's at a place now to where we've kind of seen the worst in terms of construction?
We've kind of baked in, you know, some of that in this. This is our best guess right now. I mean, a lot of things could happen, but we're very comfortable presenting you with this latest schedule.
Boom. Councilmember Toll.
I also am for affordable housing, but that's something we would need to get in ahead of time, not for this project, but even ahead of time if we wanted to say if you get certain pilots or TIFs, we want 5% affordable. We can't do that with this one, obviously, but and I love what you were saying, but I'm talking to you, Mr. Safer. But the time for that was when they pulled that out of the project, when they pulled the commercial space. That would be the time for the argument. And we've already approved it as is, and it's gone through every measure. So today, it's not a thumbs up or thumbs down on the project. Today is just an extension of the timeline.
It's not, and no comments from the public at this time.
Not shouting out.
We're not shouting out.
I was actually pausing for you, Mr. Saper, because it sounded like you wanted to respond.
Yeah, just because it is possible, it has to be renegotiated. They failed to deliver on the timeline that they had proposed.
Oh, I thought you were talking about they failed to deliver on the commercial space, which.
And they failed, they failed to deliver on the timeline they had proposed before. Now they have to come back to us if they want the city's financial support and benefits.
Okay. Well.
And again, I think it's time that we start thinking about the residents, the people who live in North Kansas City, and their needs, not necessarily the needs of developers. It's time we start thinking that just because something was done a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, that we have to necessarily be locked in robot-like and continue. These things always change, and we need to be able to modify and change and renegotiate if necessary. And this is a time when we can renegotiate, because they're coming back to us for an agreement. They want the same agreement that they had before. We can renegotiate a different agreement. This is the time to do it if we are really serious about these issues.
I disagree with that. I think it would be disingenuous. I don't think that's the way to do business. There are over $4 million in on the project and have been working with staff closely. Staff has approved it. It's passed through the TIF Commission. It's passed through the Planning Commission. It's passed through Council, actually, and staff has approved. So I don't see this as out of the ordinary asking for extra time, even if it wasn't pandemic. But the city, as well as private companies, we've had lots of projects pushed back due to the pandemic. I completely understand that. I also think that the pilot is better than other projects that we have going on right now, giving $300,000 in payment of lieu of taxes and replenishing our gaming fund. These are all positive things. So I am definitely a yes vote, and thank you for your time and presentation.
Councilmember Seth.
And just to put a finer point on it, you said they failed to deliver. I want to make it clear, they're not in any sort of default on their agreement. And Tom, you can clarify this for me if need be. They are still under the original agreement. This is just an amendment to the timeline.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I never said they were in default.
Just making it very clear. When you say failed to deliver, that carries some weight.
Well, they did fail to deliver.
It carries weight, and I just want to make sure that we're not saying anything that we don't mean to.
I mean to say that they failed to deliver, which they did. That's why they're coming back to us tonight.
All right. Is that a hand or is that just? Unsure. No? Done? Okay, there is a first and second on the floor on a first reading. All those in favor of first reading, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no.
No.
I heard 2 no's. Fair? All right.
An ordinance approving first amended and restated development agreement by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Star Acquisitions and Development LLC and Star NKC Propco LLC, and authorizing the execution thereof on behalf of the city by the mayor.
I move that bill number 7629 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9426.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Graves?
No.
Councilmember Saper?
Strongly, no.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Robert?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
6-2, motion carries. An ordinance approving first amended and restated development agreement by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Star Acquisitions and Development LLC and Star NKC Propco LLC, and authorizing the execution thereof on behalf of the city by the mayor. Item number 12. 23rd and Swift, Chapter 100, Plan and Bond Documents, Bill number 7630, Ordinance number 9427.
Kim.
What is before the City Council right now is the 23rd and Swift, Chapter 100, and bond documents. Again, this is a requirement of the development agreement. I kind of walked through before the pilot payments and the schedule and the split with the authorizing taxing jurisdictions. We do have a representative from Gilmore and Bell if you have any specific questions about the bond documents.
Councilmember questions on the bond documents.
First reading?
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no.
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 No. 6-2 motion carries.
An ordinance approving a plan and industrial development project, 23rd and Swift project, authorizing the city of North Kansas City, Missouri to issue its taxable industrial development revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $57,200,000 and authorizing and approving documents and certain actions in connection therewith.
I move that bill number 7630 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9427.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Graves?
No.
Councilmember Saper?
No.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
6-2, motion carries. An ordinance approving a plan for an industrial development project, 23rd and Swift project, authorizing the city of North Kansas City, Missouri to issue its taxable industrial development revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $57,200,000 and authorizing and approving documents and certain actions in connection therewith.
Kim.
Item 13, renewal of service contract with Kcata for calendar year 2022, fixed route and flex service, bill number 7651, ordinance number 9447.
We shall try this again. Kim.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you today is a renewal of the contract for services for Kcata, both the fixed route and the flex service. As you will recall, the City Council did host a work session with Kcata on Tuesday, November 16th to discuss some of the options for the flex service here in North Kansas City. Two of the changes that were...
Steve Sparks. There we go. I'm sorry, he was running off fast. His item was over.
He's going to catch the bus. Sorry, I had to go
I hope he has the app downloaded.
I had to go there. So at that particular work session, the City Council did make two changes to the previous operations with the flex service, and one of them was to adjust the flex service hours from its previous hours to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and to reinstitute the 25-cent fare. Those changes have been incorporated into the contract. Another kind of, I didn't notate it in my memo, but we are transitioning from 6-month services to a 12-month contract. The fiscal note is in my memo. The flex service does consist of 83% of this particular contract, and the fixed route is 17%. Kcata was able to leverage some of their CARE fundings to help offset our contract this particular funding cycle. I did denote all of the ability of Kcata to get some of the different grant funding to help offset service costs to the city. David Johnson from Kcata is here if you have any questions about the contract. But like I said, what's in front of you right now is a 12-month contract.
Nope. All right. Any council member questions?
I have a question.
Councilmember Tull.
I know that we've amended the time, but I have a question about the data that was sent out. So
Sure.
first of all, let me make sure the flex rides was amended from 6 to 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
But I'm looking at the data that was sent out, and I don't see anything scheduled before 9 a.m. Am I reading this wrong?
So we haven't communicated the service changes to the public yet. So as soon as we start that process and schedule the change, then we'll communicate to the public and amend the contract. The specifics in, I think it's attachment A, that have the service hours. Is that what you're referring to?
No, the weekend ride data, I believe it is, but the current service is not offered before 9 a.m. on weekends, correct? This is the spreadsheet that we have. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Just-
don't have the
sorry.
spreadsheet you have. Sorry.
We have a spreadsheet that has, I believe it's weekend ride request?
Oh, this was we did provide this data. This is weekend ridership data by hour that you requested in the last work session.
And so we wouldn't see anything before 9 because that isn't currently offered, is that right?
The current service hours, are you looking at Saturday or Sunday?
These can't both be the weekend, the 24th and the 30th.
Those would be all the same day of the week. This would be...
See, they're not a week apart.
It does start later on the weekends.
Yeah, these are Saturday and Sunday numbers.
Yes.
I believe it's 9, 8, does it start at 9 on Saturday and 10 on Sunday?
It's between 8 and 9.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so these are
Okay,
weekends.
got it.
Those
Sorry.
are both-
No worries.
Councilmember, was that it? Councilmember Smith.
So we talked at the work session about getting that weekend data and looking at weekend. So right now, it looks like we're going to a daily schedule, 6 to 6. Was there a reason that we're going as early as 6 a.m. on weekends?
So our recommendation is based in larger trends we're seeing in transit where people tend to expect the service to be about the same every single day rather than a weekday focus. We're seeing actually a greater decline in weekday ridership, and weekend ridership is holding strong across the system. So we're recommending that you align with that trend. We're doing that elsewhere in the Ride KC system. Even the streetcar does that. So we would like to keep with that recommendation. If you'd like to adjust it, obviously it's up to you, but it is our recommendation.
Okay, and is that, when you say it's better to have this consistent schedule every day, is that for fixed route or flex? Or
Just
both?
for the flex is what you indicated you would support a change to.
Correct.
The fixed route service is unchanged.
I mean, overall, when you mentioned that it's, there's been this trend to go toward every day having the same schedule.
Especially early in the morning. I'm sure if you haven't heard already, but from people who try to get to shift work, a lot of times those shifts begin at 6 or 7 a.m. If a service starts at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, it's useless on a Saturday. And if they're trying to rely on public transportation daily to get to work, that takes transit out of the equation because it's not useful on one of the days they need to work.
Okay.
So basically, customers who are in that boat, if they still choose to use transit, they will, but most of the time they find another way to get to work because it doesn't work for them every day to get to work.
Okay. On the weekend hours, if we were to see, as we implement this on a 6 to 6 daily, nobody riding it, or virtually nobody riding it between 6 and, say, 9 a.m. on the weekends, would we have the ability to amend the contract to realize that cost
Absolutely.
saving?
There's always a clause in here to amend the service. We do like to have 60 days notice for the public when we do change the service in that way. We'll have to do the same level of notice for the fare reintroduction or if the fare were to change. So we do try to give customers a chance to provide public comment, as you have tonight, and make sure that they're aware of the upcoming changes.
Okay. Thank you.
If I can just quickly piggyback on something that you had mentioned. So the city's newsletter will include the changes to this particular contract. That newsletter will be mailed out at the end of December in advance of any changes beginning with this particular contract season.
All right, Councilmember Clevenger.
Couple of things. Thank you, Kim, for that, and I'm sure we can put it on our website as well. I'm a big supporter of public transit since I use it, so definitely want to continue this service. I think the 6 to 6 was a consistency thing, like you had said, and that was one of my questions that I asked, actually, Mr. Johnson, when I saw him, is that, can we amend the contract, like if you see you're not seeing rides from like 6 to 8 or whatever, then yeah, I'm sure we can amend the contract. Or if we see a need for maybe our entertainment district, if people want to use it later on a Friday or Saturday night, going a little later than 6, we can do that. But starting off, this is a good starting point, I think. So glad that we're doing a year contract so we don't have to, come back and really look at it unless we want to for a year. And I think that's all I was going to say. Thanks.
Councilmember Palumbi, then Councilmember Saper.
To kind of piggyback off of what Jesse and Zach said, since we are signing a one-year deal, would it be possible for us to get like a 3-month report from you guys and kind of see
Absolutely.
where
Yes.
we're at every 3 months and see if we can make these amendments instead of waiting 6 months, 12 months? And-
Absolutely. As I indicated in prior work sessions, we have a new software platform that this service is running on. You were the first to benefit from that software platform, so congratulations.
That
It's working well.
turnaround was much better.
The
too.
turnaround on getting you a data request is basically a few days.
Okay.
And that's really just us getting around to it. It's available in
go to
real
monthly
time.
now.
There was a question in the last work session about providing your staff access to that. Unfortunately, there isn't a way to provide them access to just the North Kansas City service, so we can't honor that. But again, anytime you need weekend ridership data by hour, by day, basically any way you would like to see it, we can probably provide it to you, and in a much quicker time frame.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of us would be interested in just kind of seeing where we're at every 3 months or so, and then we can make tweaks along the way instead of kind of waiting until 6 months.
In fact, what I would recommend is that we set a date to come back and provide, or you recommend a date where we come back, and that way we can know we have time to prepare, and then you also know a time where you need to have your questions back to us, and we can get all that prepared for you.
Would that work for Kim? I'm going to defer to you on that one.
Taking notes, I'm emailing myself right now. So what I will do is I will work with Mr. Johnson on kind of getting something onto a quarterly, it sounds like, is what you guys are looking for to help you understand and maybe make a mid-course shift should need be. So what I'll probably do is just have you join us or your designee or just a written report. We'll work out kind of those details, and that can be attached to an agenda on a quarterly basis.
We'll do this quarterly. Nice.
Love it.
Councilmember Saper.
If I remember the work session, we did discuss that the fare box only is a minuscule part of the overall cost. And I don't remember why we decided to go with the 25-cent fare, since it doesn't generate much money anyway. And Kansas City has been a leader, Kansas City, Missouri, in having free bus transit. And it seems like we should do that as well, since the 25-cent fare generates nothing essentially. Why even have it? I don't remember why we came to that conclusion. Maybe someone can remind me.
I do feel like there's more burden in collecting the quarter than.
Yes, as you may recall, our recommendation was if you restore a fare was to restore it to $1.50. That provides a much better amount of revenue to offset your local contribution. But obviously, we are striving to maintain a zero fare system. A caveat to that is for services that are on demand, and this service will become on demand by being on that new platform, we would like to have a fare to moderate that demand. Oftentimes, on-demand services, Uber and Lyft would be examples you're probably familiar with. Of course, in that private sector model, they increase the price when there's too much demand for the available vehicles and drivers. We don't do that, and we wouldn't suggest doing that. But certainly having a fare gives people in an on-demand context a little bit more thought about, well, maybe I should take the free fixed route bus, which is a few blocks walk, rather than having a on-demand vehicle come and pick me up, when someone who isn't nearby a fixed route bus may need the flex service, may need it more.
So let me follow up to that. So currently it's free right now. Do we currently see that demand that would require a quarter at the moment?
We haven't promoted the on-demand function.
Yeah.
That is coming. So we do anticipate, and I have to say that the service is not operating at maximum capacity, but it is very close throughout parts of the day.
Okay.
So we did also talk about virtual bus stops, which would require people to walk a little bit, not as much as the traditional fixed route bus, as a way to maximize the efficiency of the system and to allow more trips. So by doing on-demand virtual bus stops and charging a fare, we think you can get more out of the existing service without adding bodies or vehicles.
I certainly appreciate the argument. I know we've talked about this before. This is a public service. We're not running a for-profit, bus system here. But also trying to balance it with, like you said, not overburdening the system with request.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, charging something will provide some moderating effect because someone has to have a payment method. You know, we will still allow cash on board, but you know, hopefully more people will book in the app. And as you're familiar probably with credit card transactions, they always take a cut, so you're not really getting 25 cents. So anyway, it's not a lot, but it does provide that moderating.
Is there a flat fee on that too, or they just collect a percentage on that?
I believe the processor for this platform it's a mix of, it depends on what the value is, but like if you spend $5, it's probably 3%, but if you spend 25 cents, it's probably a flat rate.
Yeah, it's like 15 cents plus
That's
3%.
Right.
Something
Right.
like, so
Right.
but really it's just, it's
gonna say you're not
what he
buying-
said, it's moderating demand, and going from 0 to a quarter makes a huge difference. I mean, 0 to 1 cent makes a huge difference in moderation of people just booking and then deciding not to ride it, or booking and then sticking with it.
I can see it. That's something we can always continue to evaluate, you know, continuously.
I did have in my notes from the November work session that there was a question about the cancellation rate. We did show some data that indicated a high cancellation rate. I believe staff provided you an answer to that question because we did find out that that was actually an administrative issue. So the system doesn't allow us to, when someone books a trip, to modify the trip, we have to cancel it. So that's all internal for the most part. Very few trips are actually canceled, or what we call a no-show, where the customer books the trip and then isn't available. So that's a very, very small percentage. So if you recommended reinstating the fare simply for the cancellation rate, that probably was, those are not related, or weren't as related as it may have looked in the data we provided.
25 cents to get on, 5 if you cancel. I'm kidding. Councilmember Toll.
I think from that meeting, how I remember it, and I could be wrong, but I think it was that it cost 25 cents. They suspended it during COVID because people had lost their jobs. They were trying to make it as easy as possible. And yes, the high cancellation rate, especially in the early morning, which now you're saying was an administrative issue. So the recommended was $1.50, which we didn't want to do. So we did 25 cents because that's what it had been before. But, certainly it's not, even $1.50 wasn't really a drop in the bucket as to what it costs. So I'm with you on that. I think it was just simply they reinstated it after COVID and because of the cancellation. But that must not be an issue anymore, right? We'll know soon with the new online data in 3 months what it's really like.
Right. We would prefer to promote the on-demand function first before reinstating the fare. We did that in Johnson County with our microtransit service. It gives the opportunity for someone who may not be aware the service even exists or how to use it, and now they know they can call it with their phone or with their smartphone to give it a try without any worries about, I just wasted a quarter. Right? So it just gives them a sort of a worry-free way to try the service. And again, we're trying to increase utilization to increase efficiency.
Fantastic. Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you for all the work you've done. I appreciate seeing you more than my own parents. But I hope to change that to maybe a 6-month or so while we collect more data and see where this is going to go. Having said that, I'd like to first reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance adopting and approving a contract by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority for public transportation services within the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that Bill number 7651 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9447.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
8-0, motion carried. An ordinance adopting and approving a contract by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority for public transportation services within the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
Thank you. Always appreciate your expertise and look forward to hanging out with you again in a few months.
Number 14, Emergency Cold Weather Overnight Sheltering Services Memorandum of Understanding with Northland Assistance Center, Resolution number 21-090.
Kim.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I told Chief Hargis I would take this item, but if I have any questions, I'm going to quickly look over at him. During your work session, Chief Hargis did present on the cold weather sheltering plan. One of those components was a partnership with Northland Assistance Center. Rita Pierce is not here right now. She's actually off, I believe, in a warmer place than it is right now. One of the things that we, as the council members, we have partnered with Northland Assistance Center several times, actually, during the pandemic for grant administration. For this particular MOU, what this document in front of you is proposing is a partnership for that overnight. Again, it would be kind of our last line of defense should we identify somebody who is in urgent need of overnight sheltering services. The Northland Assistance Center does have partnerships with multiple area hotels. What this MOU would do is Northland Assistance Center would provide those services, and the following agenda item is a budget amendment to help fund those overnight hotel rooms. So since this is our initial year, we're kind of using some of the budget estimates that Rita has given us for last year. Last year, she said she spent almost about $8,000, I believe, Chief Hargis, on overnight hotels for individuals and families in North Kansas City. And so we are proposing through this that it would be a $10,000 program. So what it would do is we would transfer those funds to Northland Assistance Center. They would provide for us a report similar to how they have done the CARES funding. Should those funds be expended, it would come forward to you for another budget amendment. Should it be a very cold year or demand is high, should those funds not be used, those funds would be remitted back to the city after the cold weather season is over. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, so I will fire away real quick. You know, if you missed the 6 o'clock work session, go back and watch that. A lot more details on our emergency cold weather plan. And again, publicly, I want to thank Chief Hargis for the work he's done on making sure we're putting this together, making sure people aren't dying out on the streets of cold. You know, last year, we didn't have a concrete plan. This year, we're in a much stronger place than we were last year. So appreciate you and appreciate the work you've done on this. Councilmember Saper.
Yeah, again, you've done a tremendous job putting together this cooperative multi-city plan. And just so people are clear about the Northland Assistance Center, it's a multi-layer approach, and the Northland Assistance Center would be sort of a last resort because the emphasis is on getting people into places where they can not only get shelter from the vast cold, but get assistance in other ways in their lives. And that's the first stage. And so it's possible that if we're successful in getting people to where they can get additional help, we won't even need the Northland Assistance Center. But we do need that as a backup, I think.
Further councilmember comments? Seeing none, is there a motion? I'm sorry, Councilmember Roberts.
No, you got the motion.
Oh.
Thank you for letting me bug you for like 7 weeks about this. Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
15, Emergency Cold Weather Overnight Sheltering Services Budget Amendment, Resolution Number 21-089.
All right, this is the budget amendment that corresponds with the previous item. Do we have any questions on this?
Move to approve.
Oh,
Second.
I'm sorry, there was, okay.
There
There
is
is a first and a second. I heard first and second. Let's go in order
There is
here.
a scribe item on here, though, I'd like to point out that I do believe Councilmember Smith is trying to call your
Councilmember
attention.
Smith.
Um,
Or, you know, go ahead,
she's
Kim,
got
go
it.
ahead. Please.
So on this particular one, there is a scribe error on it. It does say downtown streetscape. That is an error. Councilmember Smith did point that out to us. So if you were to pass this, you might want to kind of make note that that needs to be amended in your final resolution. If you look down, if you look at expenditures, the list says downtown streetscape. That is not the correct budget or finance manager. Nick Hawkins
Okay,
can
can
answer
we-
what it's supposed to say.
Well, let's re-roll this then. Who had the second?
I have the second.
You want to undo your second?
Undo my second.
Who had, okay, who had the original?
A team play undo motions
There,
from Ward 4.
Okay, we have unrolled this, and now we are back to whatever you're telling us we need to do here.
So as Kim mentioned, there's a scribe error. The account information on there is correct. So it will be coming out of the general fund as it shows in the amendment. Just the description says downtown streetscape. It should say other services.
All right, so is there a motion?
I
with
move
that?
to approve with the amended non-inclusion of downtown streetscape expenditure.
Second.
I better see that in the minutes like that. No. First and second, okay. Was that a question? General
It's
fund.
okay.
Sorry, Nick's much taller than the microphone.
Yeah.
What he had said was that line should say other services. So instead of downtown streetscape, it should say other services.
And substitute other services. Amen.
Yeah, now she's going to start getting angry at me.
No, we just need.
We have a motion and a second for the amended. There we go.
Right.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. The motion carries. Now we can go to the next one.
I can't turn the page fast enough. Emergency Public Health Order Extension, Bill number 7654, ordinance number 9450.
All right.
Councilmember Smith. fire away.
Yeah, so I've asked for this one again. This will cover, I believe it's grades K through 5, and the buses. The part of the reason to move this forward is vaccinations are moving forward with children in that age range, but they have not had the opportunity to become fully vaccinated. The second shots, I believe, are rolling out here pretty soon, second round of shots, and then it'll be a month past that for full vaccination immunity. So I believe it's prudent to keep this in place until such a time.
And like, minus any typographical issues, this one should look exactly the same like as the last, just extending until January 18th. Oh, there we go. Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, so I've got questions. Tom, maybe you can help us with this, but just in the news today, the state attorney general came out, and while I'm just sitting here, actually, I just got an email from the school districts. I have parents in the elementary school, and well, I'll just read it real quick. The email I just received from North Kansas City School Districts says, NKC schools, staff, and families. Today, the Missouri Attorney General's office sent a letter to school districts and local health agencies stating the need to eliminate certain school mitigation measures currently in place. Despite this action, North Kansas City schools will continue following our established COVID-19 protocols. After a legal review, we have determined that no immediate change is necessary at this time. We will continue to keep you informed as things progress. So what is going on? Like the Attorney General, like I just looked on the news, local news. He said like local health departments, which were not a health department.
No.
And school districts, which were not a school district.
Correct.
So can you explain?
Regardless of how that may be interpreted ultimately, in this particular case, I'd say that the city of North Kansas City is unique from probably any others, or very few other cities in the entire state. I'm aware of one other city, actually, that could fall where we do. Try to be as brief as I can, but as you'll recall, about a year and a half ago when this first started, the governor of the state entered an emergency order statewide. That went away essentially the end of August of this year. But he entered at that time in an emergency order 2109 on August the 27th, okay? And in that, he specifically cited that staff shortages continue to hinder the state's healthcare system and the state's recovery efforts from COVID-19, okay? What makes us different and what that order didn't anticipate is this city of North Kansas City owns the North Kansas City Hospital. We have an obligation to a certain degree at least to help protect the interest of that hospital as much as possible. I was personally shocked yesterday when I saw Dr. Reinschus's report that had changed so drastically in the last several weeks from what we had been receiving. The numbers were all, going down, and the good news was we had gotten down where it may have finally, we didn't keep getting them, but it may have gotten to zero, but we had down to one person on a respirator. And that's still bad news, but compared to, what it had been, that was great. And all of a sudden, I believe that the numbers were, it's in the report, I believe the numbers were we were down to about 20 patients in the whole hospital, and just a handful were in the intensive care unit, and only one was on a respirator. now, and this is off the top of my head, you probably have seen it, we're up to 68 people in the hospital as of yesterday with COVID. And we have, I want to say, 7 on a respirator, and the number's going up, unfortunately. And we had like 17. So, we need to try to protect the interest of the hospital here as much as possible. So it's up to your call. I mean, but I could justify this, I believe, even to the Attorney General if he were sitting here, and he would say, I'm guessing, he may not, but I wouldn't be surprised if he said this is a little bit different than some of the other entities that are around, but it's still your call.
He would probably just say fight tyranny, but.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, so it was just confusing to me, and I guess I'm still confused, because I guess North Kansas City School District's just kind of thumbing their nose at it, I guess, because he's telling schools to not.
I cannot speak for the North Kansas City School District.
I mean, that's kind of how I'm interpreting it, but kind of what you're saying, I don't think that what the Attorney General said today applies to the city of North Kansas City. I'm just trying to do due diligence and make sure we're not like running into some legal issue with the state. So that's all for me.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Clark.
I just want to do due diligence to protect our healthcare workers that have no choice but to go to work every day, whether there's a mask mandate or not. They have to show up and they have to watch people die because of COVID. They have to watch people die because of simple errors or people coming in that haven't been vaccinated that infect others. And I speak, kind of for Anna there. She'll be able to elaborate. And yes, for kids that, in their circumstances, they don't really have, their parents are letting them know what they can and can't do. And yes, we want to protect everybody because holidays are here. I have a handful of people I know now that have COVID, that definitely were anti-COVID that doesn't exist, and they have it now. And their kids have it, middle schoolers. So it's very real, and it's still a thing that we need to make an effort to protect. So I'm for it.
And just to follow up on that, this does remain K through 5.
Totally.
As right now.
Yes,
Okay.
this is for
I just wanna
schools.
make- yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying.
No, the
but
way you start, yeah. No, I just want to make
kids are
sure
most
everyone
vulnerable.
knew that was.
But I have
yeah.
to make it clear that, I'm sure every patient in there isn't, just straight up just a kid or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just spreading. It's just that it's spreading. It's not gone. We're taking very minimal measures at this point to say, let's at least protect the kids
And as
until
noted,
everybody
those-
has the opportunity
Yeah.
to be vaccinated that wants to be.
And as noted, that's an alarming increase because we dropped off the reports. We said, quit sending us the reports. Or I think I asked, and we said, that's fine. Let us know if things spike up. And then I had heard a couple different comments from people telling us to get the report, and, well, it wasn't great. Councilmember Saper.
The website of the North Kansas City School District explicitly says that they're following the requirements and mandates of the cities. They are not actually making the decision themselves. They're following the guidance that we are providing. And that's something we need to continue to give them that kind of reassurance that we can protect the children of the North Kansas City School District, no matter what is going on with the current lawsuits that are directed toward the school districts. They can use us, if you want, as cover to do what the right thing is. And we need to pass this extension.
Councilmember Smith.
I got interpreting what Tom was saying and what Councilmember Saper mentioned, it sounds like we're giving the school district cover at this point. If they don't feel comfortable implementing a mask mandate, we do, and it covers that. So they would have masks in the school, keeping the kids safe. And on a larger scale, taking a step back, we removed the mask mandate roughly a month ago, and the numbers have gone up almost fourfold since then. I'm not going to causation that. I'm not going to say that removing the mask mandate caused the increase, but the correlation is undeniable, and it's very frustrating to me to have listened to public backlash and public outcry that then dictated public health decisions. And to me, that's very, very frustrating because we know, and there are studies that even have been done by the state of Missouri, that masks are effective at stopping the spread. I'm happy to look out and see that most people here have masks on because you realize it helps stop the spread. It helps protect other people from what you might have and not know. So this is a no-brainer to pass the extension for the school. But I do think as we see the Omicron variant start to make its way across the state, we already know it's here. We already know it's in St. Louis at least. cases are rising. We need to be really paying attention to what other cities around are doing, what other health departments are doing, and be ready, if necessary, to act and bring back masks if the need shows it. So I just want to get ahead of that and have that discussion early on so that people don't say, you sprung it on us out of nowhere. But I would offer a first reading. Has it already been done, first reading on this?
There's not been a first reading.
First reading.
There's a motion for a first reading and a second. Further council member discussion. Have you had a chance yet?
Go ahead.
Okay, if you're good.
For people that don't have kids aged 5 to 11, because this is my misconception going into it, is that they would all be able to be vaccinated right away because you're just diluting the same medication. But that is not, in fact, how it's happened. They have their own vials that they're diluting. It's at a third. So even for my 2 kids, they had to get vaccinated in 2 different places. And then after the first vaccination, Hy-Vee said, oh, guess what? We're not going to have any vaccine for the second shot. So if you don't have kids in that age range, I'm just letting you know, because my misconception was it would be widely available for everyone as it is for adults right now. And it has been a little slower to roll out than I had anticipated.
There we go. Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, so I'm following the logic here. If we're trying to like run cover and provide like an umbrella for the school district here in North Kansas City, then you should actually be extending this order from grades K through high school, because we actually also have a high school here. So if you just enact this ordinance as it stands, you're only really protecting the elementary school, and the school district's still exposed at the North Kansas City High School. So that doesn't, like, the logic behind this doesn't match up.
And we can certainly pass with an amendment as well if we want to add that. Councilmember Clevenger. And then anyone else?
I just actually had one question. I mean, as far as this goes here, K through 5, I guess I'm okay with. I think North Kansas City School District is, like you said, basing theirs off the cities that they're in. And since a lot of those schools are in Kansas City, they're basing it off what Kansas City has said. Not saying we should follow Kansas City or not, or do this or that. Do we have an idea of what Kansas City's do? Because doesn't theirs run out the 8th or sometime soon?
No. They pushed to next year.
They pushed it through next year?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, sorry, I make it sound like it's so far away.
Okay, so I think that,
January.
the school district will probably follow that anyway through over there. So I think this action here doesn't do much, but I mean, I'm okay with it going forward. Vote yes on it, but I mean, I just think what we're doing anyway is what they're doing is following Kansas City. If they've extended it, they're going to extend their requirement for having the masks in the schools.
Tolden Clark.
I'm the one that asked for it to be K through 5, actually K through 6 weren't, but we don't have a 6th grade center. I am fully on board if you want to do K through 12. The reason why I suggested K through 5 to start with was because those students didn't have the opportunity to be vaccinated while our high school students had. And I'm 100% on board, Councilmember Wes, if you want to amend it for K through 12.
Just to clarify, like, I'm not in favor of it. I'm just trying to follow your logic as far as.
Well, the
protecting
logic
this.
was that that age group didn't have an opportunity to be vaccinated. But
No.
I fully support, if you want to do K-12, I'm on board.
So the other thing is, like, I'll just use Gladstone as an example. My office is in Gladstone. They have no mask mandate. And if your kid goes to school in Gladstone, they still wear a mask in Gladstone. So I'm just trying to follow, like, the logic behind this. And you guys are saying, like, the school district follows the cities that they're in, but not necessarily. It sounds like, to me, they're really just following Kansas City, Missouri, because they're North Kansas City schools are
But
in
if Kansas
other
City, Missouri
cities.
didn't, if theirs expired, ours would still be intact for the kids that didn't have the opportunity to get vaccinated yet. That was the idea. But again, I fully support going K-12, so I'm happy to make that amendment.
Is there, okay, we have a first and a second. At what point can we still amend?
We haven't voted on anything.
That is a procedural. I can roll back, which we're good at tonight here. This will be a second. Would someone like to undo their second? There we go. And the
Roll it back.
Okay, we getting a lot of practice. And this is probably procedurally still incorrect, but they both said it. So now we're back to scratch.
Now, before we make a new motion, are we?
I'm sorry. I've skipped Clevenger's 4 times now.
Yeah.
Let me finally give you your shot here before I say anything else. You did? Okay. Okay, I just feel like I'm skipping you. Councilmember Smith.
Okay, so if we're going to make an amendment, before we make a new motion, are we wanting to cover K through 12 for the school district cover, or what are we thinking as far as breadth of the mask mandate?
K through 12. There were a lot of questions too about K through 12. You know, we no longer lined up with Kansas City. Obviously, when we did K through 5, the assumption was their order was going to expire. I mean, to the best of
What is
knowledge,
their
that was
order?
gonna happen. Theirs is K through 12.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, and so we can do that.
Do it.
I mean,
When does theirs expire?
January something now.
Okay.
They just rolled theirs another month.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd be within the.
Okay, so
Yeah,
is
I'm
there
okay
a-
with K through 12.
Is there a motion for an amended?
Motion
Wanna make it?
for the
Yeah.
amended
To amend
K
it?
through 12
Mask.
mask mandate.
Doing a second.
Sufficient direction there? Thank you. And there was a second from Councilmember Smith. Okay, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No.
No.
Motion carries 7-1. Councilmember Graves.
I can't get my mic on. An ordinance approving Public Health Order 21-006 regarding the wearing of face masks in certain schools K through 12 due to COVID-19 in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri, and authorizing the extension of the effective period of the current order 21-005 dated November 2nd, 2021, as modified from December 18th, 2021 until January 15th, 2022.
I move that bill number 7654 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9450.
Second.
Councilmember Graves?
No.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
7-1, motion carried. An ordinance approving Public Health Order 21-006 regarding the wearing of face masks in certain schools K through 12 due to COVID-19 in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri, and authorizing the extension of the effective period of the current Order 21-005 dated November 2nd, 2021, as modified from December 18th, 2021 until January 15th, 2022. Number 17, sign ordinance amendments, bill number 7652, ordinance number 9448.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to call on the city's Community Development Director, Sarah Copeland.
Good evening. Staff recently had a conversation with the development team for the Oxbow Apartments at 18th and Swift about their plans for signs on that building. And as part of that conversation, first we realized that we needed to update the sign ordinance with regard to the description of the general business sign district. But we also realized that they have some requests concerning signage for that building that we would not have an issue recommending amendments to the sign ordinance to you in order to allow them to move forward with some of these signs. So this package of amendments before you tonight makes some changes to the general business district sign allowances that would primarily impact their property, although could also impact other tall buildings that might be developed in the city in this sign district in the future. So one of the changes is to the description of the district boundaries. It removes references to the C0 zoning district, which does not exist anymore, and the north area of the Burlington Corridor Overlay District, which also does not exist anymore, and amends the district boundaries to include this property, which currently is in the residential sign district, which would not allow the retail spaces on Swift to have any signage. It also would draw the lot that's currently occupied by Restless Spirits in that building into the general business sign district also, instead of the manufacturing district. This would eliminate the height limit for wall signs in that district. That currently they can't be any taller than 30 feet. It would also allow larger rooftop signs for buildings taller than 5 stories in height, 5 stories or 60 feet in height, and would allow roof signs to be slightly taller than is currently allowed. We do have a representative from the development team here if you have specific questions for them about what they're planning, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the sign ordinance.
he's ready to fire away there, Councilmember Smith.
A couple questions. Do we have a rendering of the sign they're asking for? Do we know what that's going to look like?
Good evening.
Good.
Tonight. And part of that is we're still trying to vet out what it is we're going to do up there. So we have a preliminary idea, but we haven't finished the engineering, a number of things. So we didn't think at this point we wanted to show you anything.
Can you paint us like a word picture? Give
Yeah,
us an idea of what we're looking at?
So the biggest change, I think, is that we wanted to put a roof sign on. This would be kind of an old school frame sign, so you would be able to see the skeleton behind the sign. Kind of, the idea that we're kind of shooting for is the Western Auto sign. So we wanted to have an iconic sign for that. So think about that. But we haven't talked about color, anything like that. Probably pretty understated is my guess. So we'd just say the Oxbow on sort of a frame. So I think that's probably the biggest change.
Okay.
What-
And then,
sorry. I was going to follow up on how many square feet did you say? You're looking at 400?
Yeah, I think that the current proposed amendment would cover what we wanted to do.
Cover 400? Okay. 'Cause I was just trying to put some visual perspective to it. And so finally I'm like, okay, what do I look at all the time? A billboard. Apparently a billboard is 672 square feet is an average billboard size. So if you're looking for something much smaller than...
Yeah, and I think importantly, also, you can see through it. Whereas, a billboard, and we think about...
Yeah. I just, it's always hard to picture a visual square foot.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
sure. And so moving the building into general business district, would this have an unintended consequence of allowing residents to hang giant banners off their balconies, or would that allow for something of that nature?
Well, you have to keep in mind that residents do have some right to hang giant banners off their balconies regardless. I mean, if you are putting out certain types of speech, the city can't really regulate that.
Sure. I know that there's for example, with yard signs, there's certain heights and widths, and you can only put them out for certain time frames. But with this, I'm just wondering under current guidelines, could somebody at City View just throw a giant banner that says essentially whatever they're looking to say?
You cannot. You could not throw out just a blanket giant banner. We do have limits on temporary signs in terms of their size, beyond which you have to get a permit. And the permit is also limited in terms of its size. If someone was just unrolling, some kind of enormous banner that was in violation of our regulations for temporary signs, we would send a notice. But frankly, we are limited in some respects to what we can regulate. So, could you hang a flag off of your balcony? We probably wouldn't be able to regulate that, but something that's clearly in excess of our temporary sign regulations, we would.
Now, would the temporary sign
address.
regulation cover this district as well?
No, that's a separate section of the sign ordinance.
Okay,
It is
so it
not
would-
impacted by these amendments.
It would overlay this. It would still be in effect even if we change this.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Saper.
Maybe you could help me. How high and how wide would it be since it'd be open, but what would be the overall height and width?
I might, Tiffany is here from Midtown Signs.
Yeah.
And I think she would be better able than I to tell you what the
Okay.
actual dimensions are.
I will say that I believe that at one point at least, they were discussing something that would be 18 feet tall, which is why we proposed the amendment from 15 to 20. I don't know about how wide.
Oh, 2 stories.
So I'm Tiffany. I'm with Midtown Signs. We're kind of assisting in the figuring out the plans of the signage. And commonly with other cities that we work with, a channel letter sign, which is individual letters, is considered, each face is considered the square footage. So instead of, like in this example, instead of drawing a box around this entire sign and measuring the square footage that way, you're actually measuring the square footage of each individual letter. So this is kind of, like I said, it's a skeleton type with a channel letter, which is kind of what they're going for. And how we would arrive at the square footage is like the O is 70 square feet, the X is 57 square feet, and that would be cumulative. It would be around 18 feet tall, and it's about, I don't have this converted to feet, but it's 487.74 inches in length, and that's the entire structure. But again, it's very open. It's not like a billboard. There's no solid face behind the letters. So very much in keeping with what he was saying with the iconic Western Auto type sign, you know, to really give it that old kind of like it's been here forever type feel is what they're really going for in the development, which I think is fitting with the city.
So it's almost sort of like the Hollywood sign, is what
Yeah.
you're telling me.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or that's, I know not specifically, but this is the general idea, very broad idea of what you're going for.
Yeah, don't take
Tatiana.
it, yeah, this is kind of the concept of,
We'll hold you to it again.
I'm envisioning.
I mean, it's
Abdiana.
mostly a blur to me, but for anyone else that can see that far, this is the vision test.
The
and I
Abdiana
failed.
sign on the Firestone building. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be very similar to that size and scale.
Yes.
Okay, I see lots of, okay.
18
let's-
by 40 and a half.
Councilmember Saper, was that it?
That was it?
Thank you.
Hollywood sign enough?
Let's go, Councilmember Clevenger here.
It sounds like a very iconic sign, so that's neat. Just a question, as far as are we going to have to go through, or anyone have to go through any kind of like thing with the, since we're closer to the downtown airport, any kind of FAA approval or anything with the sign being on top of the roof and that tall? Just something to think about, or
don't believe it's even anywhere near the flight path, so I
it's
don't.
not near the flight path?
Can't imagine that would be an
Okay.
issue at all.
And I'm not familiar with the flight path, I was just asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something we thought about. We looked up how high we could go prior to engaging the sign company. So I think we're okay there.
Okay, good.
Yeah, 'cause you guys already had an approval for the initial project anyways,
Yes, sir.
right, through them, so this is
Yes.
probably still within, okay, I get it. Councilmember
Yeah,
Tull.
we weren't going to leave that one a chance.
Yeah. To the final inch, and they're out there measuring.
For
Councilmember.
people like myself that have a hard time imagining space, how big is each floor? Because we can see the building, we can see the floors, we know the space between the floors. About how many feet is each floor?
I think we're right around 12 feet.
12
Maybe
feet?
maybe a little under that.
Okay, so, okay.
All right, next up. Boom, back to Councilmember Smith.
I'll go first reading.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Yes?
No. No no's. Motion carries.
An ordinance amending Chapter 15.44 signs, billboards, awnings, and street clocks of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri by amending Section 15.44.2.30, General Business District.
Excited to see the sign. I move that Bill number 7652 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9448.
Second.
And I forgot to ask before, is there further councilmember comments? All right, call the roll.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Was that a yes? Yes. Okay, sorry. Thought he said here. Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumby?
Yes.
An ordinance amending Chapter 15.44 signs, billboards, awnings, and street clocks of the Code of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri by amending Section 15.44.230, General Business District.
Now the mayor pro tem left, so now I'm going to leave and really cause confusion.
Item 18, Snake Saturday Agreement, Resolution Number 21-088.
And now we get to hear from JD. Kim?
First, you get to hear from Mr. Bursey.
Oh.
I'd like to call on Tom Bursey, the city's counselor.
You know, I would note he promised this would be brief.
This will be very brief. Basically, what this contract does with North Kansas City, with Northland Festivals is approves the contract for the Snake Saturday Parade and related activities. And the last couple of years, it's been different. This anticipates it going back to what we'll call a more normal parade and related activities. J.D. Green is here, and he wants to say something already. He's been sitting here quietly all evening in the corner, so.
I know, I got to give him a chance to speak. I can't let him sit back there.
Well, most of you know me, J.D. Green. I want to thank the council for having what we ended up being a spooky Snake Saturday. I want to thank Zach for giving away all those pumpkins we bought. You did a great job. But we want to get back to a parade, a normal Snake Saturday event with the theme Lucky to Be in NKC.
Yeah, I think we would all love to do that. But I do truly appreciate what you did with Spooky Snake Saturday. You know, a lot of members of the community absolutely loved what that turned into. We weren't really sure, just like you weren't really sure as you're putting it together, but I don't think it could have turned out any better than what it did. That was a fantastic event, so appreciate your work on that.
I will say I was pleasantly surprised, and especially a comment from a mother with an autistic child. She really appreciated that she was able to bring her son without the noises of a parade that would affect someone with autism. So
Appreciate that. Are there further questions on this item? Is there a motion to, I'm sorry, Councilmember Roberts.
Move to approve.
Oh, that's the
Second.
move to approve, okay. There's a first and
I like
second by
that.
Councilmember Clevenger. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Again, thank you and appreciate it.
Thank you.
Number 19, WSP Contract Amendment, Armor Road, Engineering Services for Armor Road Complete Street Project, Second Professional Services Agreement, Resolution number 21-087.
Kim,
I'd like to call on Sarah Copeland, the Community Development Director.
only if she calls on Jay. I'm gonna make her do some work.
Not going to, we'll see if you would like to hear from him. This is substantially the same agreement that we entered into in 2018 with WSP to provide engineering services related to the Armor Road Complete Street. That 2018 agreement expired after 3 years, and so we need to enter into a new agreement to allow them to continue working for us. This agreement includes the tasks associated with the work that you directed earlier this year. They would be incorporating plans that had already been completed for what we refer to as the Phase 2 work, and the other, Phase 3 and Phase 4 and other improvements that you've directed us to get done next year. Jay is here if you'd like to ask him any questions. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I really should have thought of one for him. Are there any questions for anybody? Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
No.
7-1. I hear one? That Councilmember Graves. There we go. 7-1, motion carries.
Whoops. Number 20, approving accounts due and payable by the city through December 3rd, 2021, bill number 7653, ordinance number 9449.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
No.
Did somebody say no?
We did have one no. 7-1, motion carries.
To paying the bills.
We're still on, yes.
Okay.
Paying the bills.
We will step back on that. That is an 8-0, motion carries.
Okay. An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through December 3rd, 2021.
I move that bill number 7653 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9449.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through December 3rd, 2021.
Staff reports. Correct? Did I skip one? She looked funny.
I would like to call on Crystal Doss.
The HERA's charitable applications are due by December 17th, and we usually hold a special work session. I wondered if this year, if you guys would like to just do this at the regular work session on January 4th before the council meeting?
Yes.
Is that good for
I
everybody?
hear one. How about do I hear any no's?
January 4th.
Any no's?
It's a normal council meeting.
All right, we will
That
do
way we
that.
won't have to have an extra meeting.
Will that make it easier on you?
Yes, it'll make it easier on me.
We
and
got to
everyone
help.
else.
We got to help the clerk out here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then it looks like Chief Freeman is being looked at over here. We got one. Sorry, I jumped ahead of you there, but now I'm intrigued.
Just a reminder that we've scheduled a chat with the chief. It's a first inaugural chat with the chief. Community event this coming Wednesday, December 15th, 6 to 8, community room next door. So everybody's invited.
Not chaff with the Chiefs. There will be no football players.
No,
I'm kidding.
never know.
You get a lot of people. You get a lot of people out here in gear. Chat with the Chiefs.
It could be Chiefs.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
But probably not.
Oh, you should have framed it that way, and then people would have been real disappointed. No, I appreciate that and look forward to people showing
Mostly
up.
it's just a year in review that we kind of presented to the business council for the residents, the other citizens that might not have been there, and a rollout of our community crime map.
Fantastic. Yeah, because that's been, heard some comments on the community crime map, so look forward to seeing that. Look forward to that. Thank you. Next.
Are there any other staff members that would like to give a comment at this time?
Any?
Nope.
Staff
Okay.
members?
I'd like to give the council just a couple of brief updates. The 2022 North Kansas City calendar should be available the week of Christmas. When you guys came in, you may have seen some items on your dais. One of the things that staff has been working for on quite some time, actually, we had this program ready to go before COVID kind of came in and altered our schedule. We are very, very proud to announce that the Citizens Academy is ready to go. Actually, if you go onto our website right now, that page is live. So residents are welcome to enroll in our inaugural North Kansas City Academy. It is a 9-week program. It begins on January 20th. The classes meet on Thursday nights from about 6 to 8:30, depends on the schedule. Each week focuses on a different city department or services, and the graduation will actually be at the March 15th City Council meeting. So one of the things that we would like people to do is actually attend a City Council meeting. So there will be a very, very quick ceremony at that particular City Council
Is
meeting.
that a consent agenda type item?
We'll have to work together to figure that out. We'll have another academy in the fall. We don't have those dates just yet. This is very limited. The class will be 15 participants, so sign up early if you are interested in participating. The handbook and the enrollment form are on our website. You are able to call Mallory Brown, the Deputy City Clerk, at 412-7820, and she can get you signed up for this particular class. Again, we're very, very excited here at the staff level. This is something we've been working on for quite some time. Just one more quick, I've got 2 more quick notes. The COVID updates, as mentioned in earlier dialogue, have resumed, and those are on the items of note. We do have those in ascending order, that way the newest to the oldest, and it's every report that the city has received. Another just quick thing is that I will be out of town for the December 21st City Council meeting. Chief Hargis will be acting interim city administrator for that particular work session, or for that particular meeting, and at this time, we will not have a work session for that particular one. It is kind of a holiday week, so we are trying to keep that particular agenda light.
But we're certainly open if council has something.
Absolutely.
Keep Hargis.
Because Mr. Hargis would love to handle that particular agenda.
That's it?
That is all that the staff has.
That was fantastic updates there. Going around the horn here, Councilmember Graves.
I guess I don't really have any prepared comments tonight. Just off the top of my head, one thing I just kind of would like to clarify. 23rd and Swift just passed, the re-contract, I guess, the amended contract. And it was very controversial in my ward. There's a lot of passionate individuals on both sides of the issue. And I just want everybody to know that, I am hopeful. If I vote no on something and it passes, I instantly accept it and digest it and hope for the best. So I hope it all works out, and I hope 23rd and Swift is awesome for our community. And I just hope, people aren't discouraged that we're against it, and let's all get behind it and hope for the best.
Thank you. Councilmember Saper.
I just want to give essentially a shout out to the mural on Burlington as you enter North Kansas City. If you haven't actually had the time to stop and look at it, please do. You can drive past it and sort of barely glimpse it, but you need to stop and take a look. It's really fantastic.
Please don't take pictures of it while you were driving. Councilmember Toll.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is very fantastic. I, like Tom had said, he was as well. I was really shocked by the COVID numbers, and I'm really feeling for our people that work up at the hospital. I know it's been really tough to start all over again. Since we've been recording these memos from the hospital, 68 active cases is the highest we've ever had, ever, since March 10th. So, yeah, that was shocking and discouraging, especially since it comes out ahead of Christmas, and we know we're going to get a Christmas bump as well. So just I hope everyone stays safe and healthy, and you reach out if you're not sure how to get vaccinated, if you're homebound and need to get vaccinated. Boosters are available for everyone now. It started off with just a select few, but everyone can get a booster. And I just wanted to thank Chief Hargis for his presentation in the work session. If you didn't get a chance to watch that already, it'll be online. It talks about the warming centers and how we're going to keep people safe this winter.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
I'll echo the call for vaccinations. If you are still holding out and you have questions, please ask those questions and get the help you need. Also, in our neighborhood, there was an incident of porch pirate. Somebody took a package, and on social media, there was a bit of attempts to identify the person and calls for vigilante justice. That's not really the way to go about it. If there's a porch pirate incident or any other sort of crime in the neighborhood, please report it to the police. That is their job, and they know how to do it very well. It will help them build a case and identify some patterns. So please don't take justice into your own hands. Reach out to the professionals.
Get a little Batman going on here. Councilmember Clevenger.
What is that, Judge Wapner? Don't take him to justice in your own hands, take him to court? Yeah. Couple of quick things here. Hey, that's before your time, Judge Wapner, before his time. Okay, I'll make it quick here. It's been a long night. First off, ditto on the mural. It looks great. I mean, I noticed it when going by, and if I can notice it, it stands out, so it's great. Leaf guys, loving the leaf guys, going around picking up the leaves and sucking up the leaves is doing great. Let's see. Okay, and I've been one of the ones using the Flex app, so for our Flex route, and so I like the Flex app. It's great. I'm glad they're rolling out with that. Couple of more things. I also will not be here on December 21st. I will not be with Kim or anything, but I'll be flying that day, so I will be not here. So I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas early and Happy New Year. And just the other thing is that filing is open today for council seats. This seat is up for re-election, or not re-election, but this seat is up for election. And so if anyone's interested, I encourage them to file. I hope we have some great candidates. Think we will. And other than that, that's it.
Councilmember Roberts.
I don't know who gave the mayor comedy for breakfast, but I'm already sick of it. I'm getting my booster tomorrow, so if you haven't, you should think about getting it. 6 months, go get it. And yeah, let's get Zach's seat. Let's fill this with somebody else. That's it.
There we go. Okay, yeah.
Whoa. Tough crowd tonight. Councilmember Graves, I appreciated your comments there. I think the hardest thing is, when there is so much back and forth. I did get support from members in my community. There was a final hour ask, like about 4:45, where they were like, "What's this?" And it's like, "Oh, where do we begin?" But I think as long as we can try to go in this direction of being supportive, being the community we're meant to be, and look at this and go, wow, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing people shopping at our businesses, eating at our restaurants, and being able to walk out of their front doors and just go walk and do it, and not worry about driving anywhere. And we're making it such an accessible city that just the police and fire department have to worry about, and we don't. And that's a beautiful thing. No. And so I think that is something to look forward to. We have to look at the positive side, because what I did notice tonight is there were a lot of complaints, but nobody had an exact solution. And that was the problem for me. Nobody said, instead of this, I would propose these exact things. And when we don't have that, then we have nothing else to vote on. Then we're just back to the drawing board, and we're leaving it up to staff to go, come back with something magical, and we'll maybe fight that too. And I think that was my main issue tonight, in going the direction I wanted to go, is we don't come at it with solutions. We're just coming at it with like pointy fingers and complaints, and that's not really getting us anywhere. But otherwise, great job tonight, guys. Thanks.
Councilmember Palumbi.
I have a few things. First of all, Chief Hargis, thank you so much for your work on the emergency plan. I am hoping we see less frostbite and less amputations this year because of the safety plans we have in place. Second, I wanted to thank Councilmember Graves for being optimistic in regards to 23rd and for willing to give it a chance, and hopefully, like you said, it works out and it benefits the city, and it all brings something new to the city. The last thing is, yes, we've all seen the numbers. Those numbers are now outdated. We're pushing more in the 80s as of today. All I can say is Christmas is coming. I know there's people who haven't seen their families for a few years, but I urge you that if you feel sick, please do not see your elderly family members. Please do not expose people who are at high risk of having complications of COVID-19, and just be smart and cautious and do what makes you feel safe during this time frame, because COVID's not going anywhere. I think we've learned that. This isn't our first rodeo or our first round with it, and we have no idea what we will see with Omicron and what we won't. But right now, the hospital is back to being over capacity. The last week has been equally as bad as the highest peaks during the Delta variant. So I urge you guys just to be smart, to be cautious, and do what you feel comfortable when it comes to your safety and those around you.
We needed those stats a few items ago, but thank you. Thank you for the update. Always appreciate, yeah. I know he's going to hook me here. Always appreciate the updates from you on that. You know, and always have a deep appreciation for staff that keep the city running day in and day out, and you guys do a fantastic job across the board. As noted, the mural looks great. Appreciate everyone that came out to the mayor's tree lighting. That was a fun event. And for the best news of the night, we are going to be removing items number 24 from the agenda, 25, 26, and just having executive session for number 27. So there is my positive news of the night for the council. So number 27.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the interim city administrator to be held on this date on a personnel matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute Section 610.0213.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
That carries, and for everyone watching at home or on the TV, after the feed cuts off, that's it for the evening. There'll be no further business or votes discussed after the feed cuts off. Thank you.